Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tina from Quantum Healing with Tina. I'm a Beyond Quantum Healing practitioner, spirit releasement therapist, and intuitive empath. And today we're here with Karen.
Hello, everybody. I'm an intuitive Starseed healer, BQH practitioner, and clear channel and medium.
And today we're going to talk about spirit attachments.
Yes.
So there's this idea in the spiritual community and the lightworker community that we create what we believe in. And that
Maybe we do.
We do. In some ways we do. But that is also an infiltration, I feel, in my opinion, to have us only focused on light and love while we're ignoring all this stuff over here, right? Just looking the other way and pretending it doesn't exist doesn't make it go away.
Right.
It just allows it to fester and, to keep going and going and going. And for a long time, I struggled with that belief because, I struggled with it because there was just something in me that was feeling like I was being held back. Like I would take one step forward and two steps back in my healing journey. And as far as I would get, there was something always pulling me backward. And I'm like, what is going on here? And then the idea of the spirit attachments came into my awareness, and it made me like face that fear, right? Because we fear what we don't understand. And because it's so pervasive in the spiritual community that these entities aren't real, that we create them with our own thoughts, which in some ways we do have our own creations. However, there are certain things you just can't deny.
Right.
And there are lots of people that do the work of spirit attachment clearing, entity clearing, and all these different things. And so when I was faced with that, it was like a juncture in the road where I had to really look at it.
Yeah.
And that's when I met Aurora from Rising Phoenix, Aurora, who I think is just, she's so brave because she speaks the truth no matter what she's up against. And she's up against a really hard-hitting wall in the spiritual community where there are people that don't want to look at that. And when you do look at that and talk about it, they tell you that you're fear-based. It's fear-based to believe in entities, which in my opinion, it's the opposite of fear-based.
Yeah, you're brave.
Right.
You're going in the darkest shadows.
Right. Instead of just ignoring it and pretending it like it's not there, because that belief is stemmed in fear. Right?
Absolutely.
You're afraid to look at those dark things.
Well, yeah, you're already denying it.
Right.
It's a denial. Yeah.
Right. A denial of the existence. And I was just, as I was thinking about doing this video, I was flashing back to, growing up. I was always really fascinated with ghost stories and the paranormal and that kind of stuff. And I would just watch these like ghost busting shows and be just gathering evidence, really just observing it and gathering the evidence. And anyone that has lived in a haunted house, like a real haunted house, you're not going to be able to tell them that these things aren't real or that they,
Right. Who the hell wants to move into a haunted house? I mean, like, let's do that. The majority of people aren't like that. Unless you're like the Addams family. But I mean, like people don't really aren't all for it. If they knew what was in there and knowing what they're up against, they don't know what they're up against when you're moving into a house that has like, wandering souls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all energy. It's all different forms of energy, and it's nothing to be afraid of. However, you know, it is a real thing. They are real things, and it's something that we need to be able to face, because when we don't face these realities, they just continue to fester in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a session with Aurora, and we removed a lot of cords and spirit attachment. Reptilian, I had a reptilian who actually showed himself to me as a man. He was cloaked as a really handsome man. This was before my session, and this was when I was really starting to tap into my psychic abilities, and I would just fall into trance and have these experiences. And he showed himself to me as this handsome man. I think I was in a hammock with you, and we were swinging on a porch. Like it was like outside in an open porch in a jungle.
Mm.
And I felt someone to my right, and he was sitting there in a chair with his foot like pushing the hammock. Just all like casual and nonchalant.
Mm-hmm.
Handsome man, piercing blue eyes. And I asked him, because he didn't feel right to me. His energy frequency was off, and I could feel it. And I was like, who are you? Because you're not who you're presenting to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so he unzipped his physical facade.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath, he was a light body, like pure, like crystalline looking light body. But it still didn't feel right to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was trying to trick me with this illusion of this, first the handsome man, then the clean light body. Like, look how lovely and light I am. But I'm like, this doesn't feel right.
You already have sharp discernment, and already there you have that against him, and he's already trying to gaslight you with the visual effects.
Yeah. And it was such a great metaphor and symbology for what my whole life had been really in identifying wolves in sheep's clothing. Up until that point, that's like what my whole life journey was about. So so after showing me that light body, I'm like, no, that's not who you are.
Right.
Like, who are you? And he said, it's Satan. He said, I'm Satan. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not Satan. He was just trying to scare me, right? And I said to him, like, you will never have me. I work for the light. So you can stop trying, because it's never going to work. And what he said was, we send you low vibrational people into your life to bring your vibration down so that you can't do your light work. And that's how manipulative they are. And that's how they work through people who have weaker minds and aren't connected fully to their spirit. And they think their own thoughts are theirs when they're actually not. They're being implanted by entities and then kind of used as puppets to interfere in someone else's life.
Right.
And exactly at that time that he had come to me, I had been experiencing that with like 3 different people.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I remember. Every time your vibe was like on a high, these 3 people would come in and just sabotage you, or just your energy would just be bombarded by this low vibration. You couldn't even hold the high vibration for a while, like while you were healing. And it was just always an interruption with everything. I remember it just happened so right at the time, always at the same time. You're just feeling good, or you're on a high. And in come these like three people.
Yeah.
Always the same three.
Always the same, always at the same time. Which they brought my energy down.
Yeah, they would like suck the life out of you, you know, like
they were really energy vampires, but these entities were working through them in order to do that, to physically be in my reality and suck the life out of me. And part of that was not owning my own power and not knowing how to cut people out that weren't good for me. And that was a huge lesson for me. Because a lot of times these people will show up in your life as victims, right? They appear to you, they know you're loving and kind and empathetic heart, and you want to help people and, you know, do everything you can for them.
Yeah.
And they're really there just sucking the energy and the life out of you. And they don't want to change. They don't want to grow. They don't want to heal. They just want your energy. They want your attention and your time and your energy, and they will keep taking it until you put a stop to it. And that's how that's how I needed to learn the hard way, that I can't save people and that I can't help people that don't want to help themselves.
Right.
But that was a huge lesson for me. And these like wolves in sheep's clothing, and you can call them narcissists or, you know, all these different labels, but they're basically just energy vampires, and they just want to take from you. They're takers, you know, they don't have anything to give back. They just take from you. So that's how entities will work through actual humans to influence your life. So yeah, after that, I never saw him again. But when I had my session with Aurora, he actually was a reptilian energy and came through a portal in my solar plexus. But what you need to understand about these beings is that the organic ones do have a spark of source light. No matter how dark they are, they have that spark of source light within them. And in the end, everyone wants to feel love. And in the work of spirit releasement therapy, which we can do during a quantum healing session or during remote spirit releasement, which Karen and I are training for now. But during like a hypnosis, when we find an entity, what we have them do is find their tiny spark of light inside and expand that source light within them, their own source love light. It might be the tiniest little spark, but it's there. And when they expand that light and feel the love and positively polarize, then they're willing to leave and go back to source, because they understand and know there's a better way, and that they don't need to attach to you to feel that, to have that energy, that they can generate their own if they polarize to the positive side instead of being a negative entity and draining you. So yeah, you know, and then there's all different kinds of entities. There's dark force entities that can be like reptilians and greys, and the darker ETs. Then there's like what people would call demonic type entities that can possess people that are weak-minded or that are really low in vibration. They can actually be possessed by these things. That's why there are exorcists and, you know, people that have been working like that forever, because that is real, and it can happen if someone is low enough in vibration to allow that to happen. And then there are, you know, just like spirit bugs that can get just caught up in your food. Like little flies, like they're just little parasites. They're nothing to really worry about. They just kind of like junk up your energetic field. They don't have a consciousness. They're not conscious or aware of what they're doing. But the dark force entities can be very clever. They really know what they're doing. They've been around for probably thousands of years. And yeah, so that's that. And then there's Earthbound, human souls who just get stuck here because either because their death was traumatic, and when a human has a traumatic death, they get confused. The soul gets confused when they leave the body, and they might think that they're still alive.
Yes.
Yeah, so they stay around on the earth plane, or like a traumatic car accident or something like that. Or they might have unfinished business here, so they don't go to the light, or they're worried about their family, so they kind of stick around too long and visit the family and then miss their opportunity to go to the light. And there are a lot of trapped earthbound souls. That's mostly what haunts the houses, or these trapped souls. I spoke to a client recently who lived in a house where she had a lot of activity. And her daughter, who was really sensitive, actually saw the man, the earthbound soul, who was like a World War I or II veteran.
Oh,
and
wow.
he would walk around the house just carrying a lantern. And she said she had done like a lot of research and everything on the house and who lived there and everything. And she found out that the man and his son both lived there, and they were both in the war. The father had died tragically. And she thinks that he stuck around to stay with the daughter, his daughter. But he's still there now after all this time, trapped.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Trapped in the house. And it's really sad for a soul like that to be trapped down in this density and not just to be repeating the same pattern over and over again, because they just get stuck in that like repeating.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so, and also not only do they stay in houses or areas where, like battlefields and stuff like that, or churches, places where there's a lot of energy, funeral homes, hospitals. And then what can happen is, everything is energy and vibration. So if you are an energetic match to one of these souls, or you have something that they're looking for, they will attach to your energy field. And like Karen works in a hospital, so she's around earthbound souls a lot. And, if you are a bright light and they're looking for the light, they will attach to you. Some are just, some just want that comfort and love. And then some can be a little bit harsher than that. They can cause you physical symptoms, mental symptoms. They can put thoughts in your head, make you feel certain things. Depends on how they were as a human, when they were alive, because they carry that same energy over. It doesn't, you don't just become this light and love filled spirit when you leave the body. You still carry that personality with you kind of when you leave. Especially if you're still stuck here and you don't have the higher perspective. When you go to and you leave the body, you kind of had a higher perspective on your life. But while you're still stuck here in this plane of existence, you don't yet have that. So you're just repeating your human patterns. Hi, dude. What are you doing? Come here. Coco is very sensitive to spirit. Had some spirits in and out of here. Do you want to tell them what it's like for you to work in the hospital and some of the stories you have?
Yeah, it seems like since we started our course, They do clearings on me. Like, I ask for one once a month. There's always one Earthbound that's attached to me. I don't know if they've actually influenced me per se, or they just like my energy or whatever reason why they attach.
You know what I think a lot of them do is they know and understand the work that you do, and they attach to you so that they will get released.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I can't say that I do sometimes feel it. I mean, like there was one time that I saw, like this was before we started doing this work, like way before. But I was walking through the hospital and there was like an elevator that had opened, and yeah, they were running out with the patient on a gurney and they were doing compressions, like intense compressions, and we had to move out of the way. And at the end of the what do you call it? At the end of the stretcher, there was a light being walking with them. So I was like, oh my God, is this guy dead or what? Like, or it's just kind of watching them working on him. And then, like in the movies, and then they're just like, okay, I'm good. And then they go lay down and they come back to life. But yeah, it was really interesting to see like that kind of light just right next to everything that was happening as they were running down the hallway. And it was just lingering. I can't say that I'm too sensitive to it. I'm not looking for it either, because the place that I usually walk through to go to the cafeteria, for example, is in the way of the morgue. So I know that activity. I do feel activity even though there's nobody there, but I don't ask for it. I kind of like remember to put myself in like a protective, like invisibility cloak when I do remember to do so as I'm walking through there. I do declare my sovereignty a lot. You have to. Like, I've made that into a practice. Some days to be honest, I don't remember to do it. But like when I do remember, I feel it, and I'm like, and I have to ask myself if I am sovereign or not. But yeah, I think the most, if anything, is damaging in the hospital workplace, it's really just the people I work with. So, I mean, that kind of energy. I'm not being judgy, sending love always. But yeah, it's that kind of like energy, like those thought forms that are always around too, like everybody's energy and their thought forms are always attached to them. So I mean, like, you do feel it, you don't need, it doesn't have to be tension that you feel, like it's everything apart from that. But yeah.
And what people don't realize is, we live just energetic soup, and
that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, we can only see 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. So imagine how much stuff we're surrounded by all the time. Like even the Wi-Fi and the electromagnetic pollution that we're just like sitting in that all the time, especially in places like the hospital with all the equipment they have, and apartment buildings where there's more than just one apartment. There's 20 people with Wi-Fi here, and you're getting all of it.
God, yeah.
Plus,
I just see it just like everywhere. You're walking through it. It's like a jungle, and you're of energy.
Yeah.
And vines and
then you have energy from like thought forms that are just all around us, like when a lot of times, like say you go over a bridge and people get anxiety or feel kind of like panicky when they're going over a bridge. That's from all of those thought forms that have been left there over the years, and you're just passing through them and picking up on them. Yes. And it's you feel those same things. And even from people that have, been there and been contemplating jumping off, like all of those thought forms are there because energy never dies. It transmutes, but we have to actively work on transmuting. And that's part of what the spirit releasement therapy does. It helps those darker energies to transmute into positive polarized beings and sends them on their way. So that's why it's so important. And especially right now, with, right now, all of the riots are going on across the country. And a lot of this is influenced by dark force entities that want to incite this violence and these high level emotions of fear and anger because they feed off of it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
done purposefully. And again, they're working through humans, like the elites at the top that are like they're puppets, and they're purposefully orchestrating all of this so that these entities can then feed off of that energy. And it's what keeps it all going. Humans that aren't as aware as, say, we are, don't know they're being manipulated by these darker energies. And so they're very easily emotionally triggered by events without engaging in the logical part of the brain, because an emotional event like the death of George Floyd is going to trigger that reptilian part of the brain, and people are going to start reacting instead of, from that emotion, instead of being able to come back from that and clear that for a minute and center themselves and really engage the logical thinking mind. And respond in an appropriate way. They're just reacting emotionally and then just feeding that cycle of negativity.
Right.
To which all of these entities are having a part,
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important to protect ourselves. And all it takes is intention. I mean, at least you can at least do it twice a day when you wake up. You don't have to do a long meditation. All you have to do is have the intention, the thought, and the strong intention to protect yourself in your own bubble of light. With the intention of only allowing beings of the highest vibrational light and resonance in your field, and to keep out anything of low vibration. Just have the thought, the intention to protect yourself. Because our thoughts are everything, whether that's positive or negative, it creates. Our thoughts are what, and our emotions are what create. So at least in the morning and at night, and if you have the time, it helps to ground yourself down into the earth and connect with source and create that bubble of light from your heart center, your own love light. You don't need to ask anyone for protection. You are powerful enough to do it on your own. And it's always much better to rely on your own self than any beings outside of yourself. Because the other side of asking beings to protect or help you is you don't know who you're talking to unless you're well versed and your discernment is really really well practiced.
Right. We can't blindly trust who we're asking. You have to. There's imposters everywhere. So.
Karen knows.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, just like the Satan guy. He was an imposter. If I didn't know better.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, you're good looking. Like you could be my spirit guide.
Yeah. And the thing about right now too, specifically, is all is being revealed. Everything is coming to light, even in the spiritual community.
Yes.
And what's great about that is, these imposters, these beings of the false light, they're being revealed now. And one of their tactics is to have us focusing on only love and light.
Only, yeah. I was just gonna say it's only like only that.
Love and light. And well, yes, focusing on love and light is important, but there's a whole nother side to that we are ignoring. And which is why we've gotten this far. The darkness has been able to perpetuate itself this long because we've just been ignoring it and pretending like it doesn't exist. And
Yes.
in my opinion, part of light work is being able to look at the hard things and to help transmute them.
Yes.
And as long as we're ignoring them, we're never going to get anywhere,
Absolutely. There's so many distractions that are put out there, so everybody's focus is not where it should be. It's everywhere else but where it should be. That's what it feels like. It's so scattered. So many things are happening all at the same time. I mean, like, no one's even thinking about the virus anymore, to be honest.
I
Who's
haven't
thinking
heard
about it? I don't see it anymore. I don't feel it. I mean, I haven't felt the energy of the virus in a long time. It's just that it's the side effect of the virus is still happening around me with everybody covering up and whatever. But I don't feel it anymore. Like, it's not even about that anymore. It's evolved.
No, it's evolved.
Yeah.
It's evolved. Well, that's true because they didn't get the reaction out of us that they wanted from the virus. That was all a test to see if we would stand up for ourselves and fight back against these draconian rules that they put in place. And because nobody did, we all just said, okay, we'll wear a mask and not go out of the house. They were like, okay, we need to ramp this up a bit. And so this whole thing was perpetrated to ignite this violence. This is what they want. They want chaos. They want war. They want us fighting against each other. They want division. This is the ultimate goal of these entities. And how do we combat that?
Well, just like you said, or like when you channeled Rhea, the little cute fairy. Yeah, what stuck out for me was, as light workers, we have to be the eye of the storm. And to allow all the chaos to just move around, and we cannot get too emotionally involved. I mean, we really have to step out of it and see what is really happening and just be the light holders during all the darkness as it's coming out. Because if we get caught in the storylines that are happening and get so emotionally involved, then we are feeding into the fear and into that. So then we kind of lose track of where we're supposed to be. So it's really important to just kind of try to detach from it. I mean, like for me, like I'm the one talking about detachment. I've learned my lesson, but I mean, yes, I mean, it made sense. Like that resonance made sense that, everyone is entitled to their feelings. And I keep stressing that. I go, whatever you're feeling, like you should be outraged by what's happening. But at the same time, it's to kind of be able to get to step back from it as well and to see what is really happening when you can just look at it as the bigger picture and not just get too involved in the little details that are really happening in between. So, it's to be the light. That's what our role is to really shed the light onto the shadows, because this is what's happening. It's purging deeply, like we are going deep into the wound now. And we just got to let it happen and hope that the light that we are it's going to conquer all. Hold that knowing, or hold that. That's it. Hold it. Just hold it, please.
Hold it.
Please hold it.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I know. I was talking to a friend today and she's like, because you probably didn't see it, but Cosmic Agency came out with another video about the Galactic Federation.
I didn't see it, but I'm like, so disappointed. Is it still kind of the same type of thing where they're just kind of watching the shit show happen? And
oh no, they started.
They what?
They
started this? Sorry, you're getting censored as you talk. What?
They started it.
They started it. Oh, okay. Okay. Just let that settle. Not getting emotionally involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, she's like, what do you think? And I'm like, I believe it. I believe it. Because pretty much everything we've been told is a lie. So why not that?
Well, that's a little deceiving to call them Galactic Federation of Light.
Well, there you go. Imposters. Again.
Wow. Not surprised. Nothing surprising. I mean, really, nothing is surprising.
Down below, you guys can watch it and tell me what you think. But this channel I've been following since they came out, and Gosha, who runs the channel, is connected to the Taiga and Pleiadians, who she speaks to online, not channeled. They speak directly, even have had voice-to-voice conversations with them. She started out just speaking with Swaru, but now she speaks to several of them. They all have different roles on the ship. They're in a ship in orbit. And they are the purest source of information I've been able to find about pretty much everything, because there's no human filters. The information is coming direct.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that they have about has resonated with me 100%. So I believe them. And because here's the thing, they're sick of it too. They want us to be liberated. They want to help us. And they're tired of being manipulated by the Federation themselves. Because the Federation's onto them, because they're like the rebels.
So there are kind of beings.
They're our kind. And they really want to help us. So the Federation puts them over here and says, you need to go up into this high orbit. So that way they have no communication with us.
Mm-hmm.
So they send people to trail them and watch them and, to make sure they're not communicating with us or doing things they're not supposed to do.
See, that doesn't sound of the light at all, which is like what people should question as well. Like when you start instilling rules and regulations and things like that, it is our right to communicate, but we do have free will. But I mean, not to restrict things that we have access to. We can ask. We all say we can ask, and then it's just like, oh no, but these things, there's a list that you have to respect.
If you notice, when you listen to channeled messages from the Federation, what do they tell you? They really don't tell you anything.
Yeah, so vague.
It's so vague.
Right.
And everyone's just like, oh yeah, we get it. You can't tell us. Like, no, I'm tired of that. We're not children, We need
Right.
the part of the reason why we're here right now is because of all the lies. And they're just contributing to that. Anyway, we're on a big, huge tangent right now, but I think it's relevant.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But the point of the video was spirit releasement.
Right.
Yeah. So entities and spirit attachments are nothing to be afraid of. And we can easily remove them in a hypnosis session or in remote spirit releasement therapy, which is something that you don't even need to be involved in. And if anybody wants us to practice on them for free, just let us know.
Yeah,
you
please.
don't. All we need is your name, age, and where you live, and that's it. Reach out to me at quantumhealingwithtena@gmail.com and let us know. We can do a clearing. We clear for DFEs, Earthbounds, anything energetic you would have in your field. We check for past life contracts that aren't beneficial for you, negative self-created thought forms, portal
personalities.
Personalities. What else? Oh, we do a chakra clearing. check for any devices, curses, anything negative that you could possibly have attached to you. We check for and clear. Plus your house and workplace. So, yeah.
I've removed my own entities, so you could trust us.
Yeah. Karen removed an army of her own entities.
Yeah, with my children laying next to me.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
You want to tell them that story?
Real quick. Yeah, I had a session with Tina, and I found out that I had an army of entities attached to me. When I had kind of like it wasn't a sleep paralysis because I was actually conscious of it. So my body just stopped moving, and my eyes were the only thing that could move. And yeah, I found out that an army of entities attached to me. So I was probably like 15, 16 years old at the time. And it actually makes sense because from there, like, major depression, anxiety. I became a hermit. Really didn't want to interact with people anymore. And yeah, so that sounds good, right? Are you okay?
Flying over my house right now.
A what?
A helicopter.
Okay.
That's weird.
Suspicious. Yeah, so yeah, in that session, found out that that's what happened to me at, like, when I had that sleep paralysis, well, conscious paralysis. And so yeah, I decided to remove them myself. There was one night, my kids were with me. Don't ask me why I decided in that moment to remove them. I just felt like, yeah, no, I'm sick of this, because I always felt a ball in my throat, and I felt like my heart space. I always saw it, like, every time I went in meditation to, like, clear myself, like there was a huge tower, like, just protecting my heart. And yeah, when I did the removals, I could feel it. I remember that I was removing. There were some that were easy to remove, like just with the intention alone to bring it to the light. I asked for like Archangel Michael to come and help me, but I did most of it by myself, just with the intention. And there was the last one that I had to remove. It felt like I felt tentacles that were just like grabbing onto my throat. It was because I felt like I was starting to choke. And you know, there's like that moment, like right before, like when you realize what you're doing, you know, like, because I mean, like, I was really just like, yeah, I'm gonna remove them, no problem. But there's that moment where you're choking, and you're like, holy shit, like, I'm right next to my kids. I go, so I could actually technically die right now. That's what it felt like. And I was like, I have to just make a decision now. Like, am I gonna give into the fear of what I'm doing? Because, you know, you get taken back to 3D real quick, like when you realize what you're doing. And I was like, no, I'm going, like, I went all in here. So, like, there's no way in hell that my kids are going to find me dead next to them in the morning. So I was just like, yeah, you're going to get out. And I literally felt like the tentacles, like, open up, and I pulled it out to, you know, to release it. But yeah, there was so many. After that moment, I was able to breathe. Like, I felt like, because I didn't realize how much I would shallow breathe, but after I removed that, I was able to do like deep breathing, which was pretty incredible. And after that, my voice opened a little more. So yeah,
Yeah,
a little short story.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be that scary.
No, it doesn't.
But that was necessary for you to really step into and feel your power and how powerful you are.
Mm-hmm.
And we are all that powerful. Yeah, we are all that powerful.
There is a lot of fear created around that kind of stuff, of course. I mean, like, I grew up in a Catholic home, so, you know, and with my family too, on my dad's side, like, all my aunts are very superstitious, so they would always tell us the ghost stories, and so they would instill that kind of fear around it. But like, knowing the work in that, like, what we do, and coming into my own light, and power, you really can see that it's not as scary as you're told it is, so long as you believe in your own power. I mean, like, when you start to doubt yourself, then yeah, you are giving it more power over you. But when, yeah, you could see it for what it is. I mean, like, really step into yourself.
Right.
No problem.
Yeah, perfectly said. Because it's really that belief and confidence in ourselves that we are more powerful than anything dark that could possibly attach to us. So the light is so much more powerful than the dark. And when you're working for the light, you have nothing to worry about if you have that belief and confidence in yourself and don't doubt your power. That's how we are all that powerful. We all have the light of source within us. And that's what these beings are missing. That's why they need to feed off of us, because their spark has been, little teeny tiny. They're disconnected. They're disconnected from source. So they cannot create on their own. And that's why they need to use us and work through us to do their dirty work.
It reminds me of, like, well, even me. I mean, like, how we just get so disconnected and we go inward, or, we become codependent and we look outside of ourselves, or we attach to other people just to feel something or feel validated or whole. It's the same process. And then when you get into the process of the journey, self-love journey, you find the spark within yourself. And it's kind of the same thing, We're all the same. We're all one.
Absolutely. And the dark and the light, we are all one, even though we speak of it and separately. In reality, there is no separation, but I think it's important to not ignore these things in the world of duality that we live in right now.
Mm-hmm.
The only place there isn't that polarity is in source. Source is the only thing that's completely whole. I mean, look at the archangels. Some are warriors like Michael. If there was no dark, what would he need to be fighting?
Right.
And he's way up there,
Point.
Yeah. That just came to me.
Feels good. It's brilliant. Copyright.
Yeah. That's really true. I think he just implanted that thought because I'm not that smart.
That's not true.
Yeah. Any final words?
Not to be afraid. Again, light worker, the point of being a light worker is to illuminate. What are we illuminating? Not illuminating light, or illuminating the dark.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So if we ignore the dark, then what are you there for? What are you light worker for? We can't ignore what we're here to do. And we can't ignore what's happening in the world right now. Like, it's so obvious. And if you ignore that, it's like, I don't know where you are, like La La Land. Like, there's not, I understand, like, I understand the perspective of these people and how they, they want to focus their energy there. I get it. Like, I understand it. But at the same time, it doesn't really work fully. You're really not working at 100% capacity. You're really going, if not halfway. That's it.
Right.
Like, you need to go the whole way and exhume it for the very purpose of bringing all the darkness to light. So that's it. And yeah, go ahead.
And really anchoring that light down, grounding that light. Mm-hmm. Instead of being up here in a 5D bubble of bliss, like nothing's happening, we really need to take that light and anchor it down and be grounded. I think there's a really balance that needs to be achieved somewhere between 3D Earth and 5D Earth, and being able to I don't know. I just kind of see us like kind of shifting between worlds and anchoring those frequencies down in 3D. 3D is where they need it most, you know?
Well, you incarnated here for that very reason. It's not like you incarnated here to go to 5D. We didn't do that. We're not there yet at all. We're not even close right now. So, like, come back here so that we could go there. There's a process.
Yeah.
Can't skip steps.
Right. And that's what our guides always tell us in our sessions. We can't skip steps. We came here to be human. And yeah, we might have a 5D consciousness, which is amazing, but we're still in 3D Earth, and we need to create collectively the whole of humanity, not just the few of us that are holding that consciousness. Yes, we pull others up and we get there eventually, but it's a whole group process that's going to take some time. And we just have to be patient. And, you know, part of us doing this work right now, it comes at like the perfect time as usual in helping to clear the earth of these entities, clear people from these entities. So if any of you out there have been afraid to talk about this stuff or you would like a clearing, just please reach out to us, whether you want to do that through hypnosis or through remote spirit releasement. We can talk about it. Yeah, we'd love to be of assistance. So let us know. Shoot me an email at quantumhealingwithtina@gmail.com. Any final word?
Nope. We appreciate you all being here. So please like and subscribe and comment down below and let us know if you're here. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, let us know. I hate not knowing like who's watching my videos.
Creepers. I'm just kidding. Silent fans.
Silent fans, yeah. Yeah, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what your experience with entities has been. I would love to hear your stories. All right, guys, sending so much love out there. Hang in there. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.